Hello friends, it's Meghann Andrew with you. I have just walked through all of the products from the September 2024 Concord and 9th release, filled with holiday products galore, and they're all so amazing. But one of my favorites is the Fa La La Inlay Die. Now this is an A2 die that cuts out the Fa La La words on that A2 background. And I created a card with it already, but I wanted to show you how easy it is to put together. So let's take a look. So the first thing I do when I sit down to create with an inlay die is to just die cut a bunch of different A2 pieces of cardstock. And what I do is I put them in these storage pockets. These are by Avery, Elle, and you can find the link to these along with all the products that I'm sharing here in the video description below. But here I've cut them from Poppy, Evergreen, Honeysuckle, Ballet Slipper, Eucalyptus. This one is Lemongrass. I keep forgetting that one. Lemongrass, Cranberry, and Parsley. So a bunch of different pinks and greens and reds. And then I can just sit down and figure out which color combination works. So for the card that I've already created, I started with Evergreen for my background. So that background's already been used. Then I have Ballet Slipper, Honeysuckle, Lemongrass, I can never remember that name, Lemongrass, and Eucalyptus. So we're going to try to do a different combination of ones that I already have cut out and do a different background, maybe keep the same combination and just switch up the background, or we can switch over to those reds. But I'm going to show you how easy this is to put together this really fun card. Okay, so the color combination I've decided to go with is Ballet Slipper, Honeysuckle, Cranberry, Eucalyptus, and Evergreen. Before I commit with adhesive, I always like to lay out my inlays just to be sure that I'm happy with the color combination. And so this one is Eucalyptus for the background, Cranberry, Evergreen, Ballet Slipper, and Honeysuckle. And I think that I really like this combination. Now, it's not as playful as this one. It's a little bit more muted, a little bit more calm, but it's the lemongrass that really brings that fun vibe into this one. So let's just see how this one turns out with a little bit of a more muted color scheme. So I'm going to show you a really easy way to add the inlays onto this card front. So here I have this nice wide tape from scrapbook.com, and what I'm going to do is run it along the back of my A2 folded card base. Now I'm using Neenah Solar White, 110 pound for my card base, so it's nice and thick. And I'm going to run these pieces, and you can get even wider tape, but I just find that sometimes it's a little bit hard to work with, to manage and get put in place. This one is a good one, and they don't have to actually touch. The letters are going to get adhered even if they're not right next to each other. So there's probably about a 1/16 of an inch in between my pieces here. You just want to make sure that you get all the way from the top to the bottom. And there's probably about an 1/8 of an inch, 1/16 of an inch from the top of my panel to where the tape begins. And that's okay. It's going to be fine. That one's running over, so I'm just going to give that a good trim. Make sure that those are nice and flat. Trim off any excess that is running off. Then I'm going to grab a spatula and pull off the backing of each of these. So here I have my A2 inlay card base, okay? And I'm going to start in this top corner and hold it down there while I line it up along that top edge and then along the side, and get that just in place, just like that. So now all of the inlay back here is still sticky and the top is not. So I'm going to work with one color at a time so that I'm not going back and forth between all of the colors, because then that gets to be a bit much. So we're starting with red. And you can use a pickup tool, you can use your fingers, but this is going to go together so quickly. Now remember, we have 4 colors for our inlay, so you're only going to have, you know, 1 color here, then you're going to skip a line because we're going in diagonals. So then my red will be right here for the la for the next one. And then this la. Like that, and then it's going to go back here to the la, because there are 5 rows, so your pattern repeat is going to start down here. And there we go. So that's 1 color done. See how fast and easy that was? Then you can put all of your pieces for that 1 color back in your pocket, and you can store these pockets with your die set, so you can actually, you know, slide your pockets in the back here so that you can keep all of those excess pieces. Now let's go through and do the rest of our colors here. And that's our background done. And 2 things made this so much easier. Having all my colors separated, already cut in advance, and using that tape behind the inlay. So not grabbing a glue bottle and having to glue for each one of these made it so much faster to come together. Now we're just going to add another sentiment and a little bit of embellishment on the front. Okay, I already have my die cuts cut out here. I have my MISTI, but because this is quite small and I want to stamp on it, I'm going to replace what's in my MISTI, so the foam pad, with my waffle flower grip mat. And this just makes it so that my little banner here will stick to the surface, and then I can place my stamp and stamp it multiple times without that pulling up. Okay, so this die cut was cut out using the Festive Blooms die set. That includes these 2 little banner ends and then the banner middle, and then the Festive Blooms stamp set. And you can buy those as a bundle. Comes with the large sentiments that fit them. Now I did Happy Holidays on this card, so I'm going to switch it up and do Merry Christmas on this card. And so I'm going to get it placed on my banner, and you want to make sure that it's centered. Then I'm going to close the door of my MISTI, and that stayed perfectly in place. Then I can get this stamp primed. I'm just going to use a gum eraser here because I haven't used this Merry Christmas yet. So I'm going to use a gum eraser, just prime that stamp, and then I'm going to ink it up with some cranberry ink. And there we go. Now my sentiment is ready, and I can get this added to the card front. I decided that I thought it might be fun to add a little pink kind of glow around the edges. So I'm using ballet slipper ink, and I put my sentiment back on my grip mat, and I'm just doing a nice, just touching kind of the edges of that. See there what that adds? Just a little tiny bit of pink. I'm actually tapping off first too, so that I don't get too much of an intense pink. I'm going to do the edges as well. Okay, I really like having this sentiment here in between 2 of the lines of the fa la la, kind of down a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and put some foam tape on the middle section of the sentiment. So I am going to go ahead, let me get my tweezers here because that'll make it easier, and glue these to the front. And push that over a little bit, and then this one I can do the same. Okay, now we can take off the backing. I'm going to put some adhesive on here, some glue, so that this can move around for a couple of seconds while I get it in place. Okay, so my sentiment is on, that pretty banner is in place, and now I'm going to add a little bit of floral to my card front. Now for this one, I'm going to do a double stacked pink poinsettia, kind of like that. And this one can sit kind of on top of our sentiment here on the right side because there's a little bit of a gap there in the sentiment. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my ballet slipper ink and my blending brush again and just add a little bit of pink to the center. Then I can layer these two together. And then the center that I have here is in the rose gold paper. This is a metallic paper. I just love the rose gold and I used it a lot on my cards this month. I think it looks really beautiful with the light pink of the ballet slipper, but just look at that pretty shine. Isn't that so nice? Now we can just place this up here. I'm going to use the same foam adhesive that I used for my sentiment just to give it a little bit of a lift right in there. Next, I'm going to add a little bit of leafery. I've die cut it in eucalyptus and the evergreen, and I think I'm going to go with the evergreen because it really stands out against the background. You can ink blend this one too, but I'm not going to for this one. I'm also going to just glue the center of the die cut and not worry about the rest of the leaves because I want to be able to lift those up for some added dimension. For this one, I'm going to just give it a little bit of a trim. I love these bins. These are the ones that I use to store my A2 size pieces of paper, and I also have all of my enamel dots in here in Roy G. Biv order. Those have been helping me stay organized lately. I've linked them in the video description too. So I don't know, maybe eucalyptus is the way to go for these. Actually, that's quite pretty. Let's do the eucalyptus, and then it'll just be a little bit of a tone on tone over here by the flowers. How pretty is that? So here's my original card on the right. The lemongrass gave it a lot of energy, gave it some playfulness. My card on the left is a bit more muted with that eucalyptus background without the bright green. And I love them both. I think that they both have a place in your holiday cards, but what I know is that the Fa La La Inlay Die is definitely one of my favorite products from this Concord and 9th release. And I just love how both of these cards came out, and I have so many more pieces to create more cards just like this. So really great for mass producing, for sitting down one evening with your favorite Netflix show or maybe a rom-com, holiday rom-com, and just creating a bunch of these Fa La La cards. Thanks so much for watching as I use the Fa La La Inlay Die to create one really beautiful card based on a card that I created earlier. I hope you love this die as much as I do. It's really great for creating a whole slew of holiday cards in various colorways. Be sure to check out all of the products that I used in the video description by hitting that More button. And be sure to watch my Concord 9th September 2024 release video so that you can see all of the products in this amazing release. Thanks so much for watching. Be sure to hit the thumbs up button and subscribe to see more card making videos. Happy creating!